Welcome to week 29 of 52 Weeks of Storytelling. In this week's prompt episode, we're going to be talking about a moment of truth. Don't freak out, it'll be fine. So start thinking about a moment of truth or a moment of incredible clarity that you want to share. And if you can't come up with something, I'll give you instructions on what to do when we get to prompt things. So first, what is 52 Weeks of Storytelling? 52 Weeks of Storytelling is a way to write your story 52 pages, 52 weeks at a time. Not at a time, but one at a time over 52 weeks. Wow, I didn't explain that very well. So 52 Weeks of Storytelling is really my way of helping people work through what potentially might feel like a super big project and something that feels really, really hard. So I know that there are people writing their memoirs, they're writing their books, they're writing letters to their families using these prompts and videos. So that's one way you can use things. I also know people are using these as activities in care facilities, and it's been a really neat journey to hear how different people are using these particular videos. In addition to the videos, there is a journal that you can grab. So you can grab the 52 Weeks of Storytelling with guided prompts. That journal is linked below, one for Etsy, which is a PDF printable, and then a Amazon print on demand journal where you can actually get a printed version of the journal in your hot little hands. So my recommendation is the printed journal just because it is a lot of pages. If you're excited about printing things though, you can grab the PDF. So that is the story on the journal. The legacy storytelling method is how I help people break down sharing and telling and writing their stories. So it's something I came up with a couple of years ago, and it's worked really well for all sorts of age groups, different applications, different situations. People who have memory loss can remember all the things. It's a really in my opinion, unique way of approaching storytelling, and it gives you an opportunity to ask simple questions that can then lead into more complicated ones on an interview style based of things. So that is the 5 days, 5 W's: who, what, why, when, and where, and not in that order. And the why part is where people usually get tripped up. And for me, it's why did this moment happen? How did you get here? What were the forces that brought you to the moment? Which leads into the digging deeper questions, which is what I call them. So as the name says, we dig a little deeper. We talk about feelings, we talk about impact, we talk about why the moment is important to you. And then the very last question is, what do you want people to remember about this moment? Usually when you ask this question of yourself or someone else, the answer that comes is it can be quite deep. There's a better word than deep. But it's something that people don't usually ask each other. And when you've gone through the process of answering all of the other questions, usually someone can come up with the answer, even if they couldn't come up with it if you asked at the beginning, which is a really cool way of being able to tell our stories and then at the end be able to summarize into one coherent thought in just a very short amount of time. Sometimes that takes years for people to be able to do. So with that, I want to share a little bit more about the weekly writing prompt. So the weekly writing prompt this week is a moment of truth. Now, I'm trying to remember what was happening when I came up with this prompt. As I recall, there was a lot of stuff going on globally, internationally. Here in the US, there's a lot going on. And I was thinking about how could we tell a story about a moment that caused us to, have something that maybe we'd been thinking about for a long time and couldn't come up with an answer about. And it just was something where you were like, you had that light bulb moment or aha moment. So that's really the moment of truth. So think about something like that. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. If it's something simple, if it's something you realized about yourself, about someone you love, about a friend, or you had clarity around a friendship, or maybe it was the moment you decided that you knew you didn't want to work at your job anymore. It could be something like that. So that was my that was my brain space when I was thinking about this. So feel free to pick anything that works for you. And again, if you don't like this prompt, feel free to skip it and go on to something else and come back later when you're ready. So for my story example, I'm still sitting here struggling to figure out what would be my story example for this. And I think I'll take a recent one. So I have tried to play guitar before. I took lessons when I was in high school. I'm no longer in high school. So I took lessons in high school, and then at some point it just felt really, really hard. And so I just stopped. I didn't get very far. I probably only took a year and a half of lessons. But it's something I've always wanted to do. It's something my dad did, and I always wanted to be able to play guitar and sing like he did. And I had convinced myself over the years that it was too hard, or that I couldn't, or that something was wrong with me, and that I would never be able to figure it out. And at some point, someone mentioned that, there were smaller guitars than the guitar I was trying to play. I'm only 5'2", and like I've got bits everywhere, and like my arms and stuff, and things just didn't work right. And so I, got this idea that maybe I could try again, but I felt like I didn't have enough time. I blah, 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 like all the things we say, right? Well, my youngest child started playing piano a while ago, not quite a year yet. And so through this process of doing online piano lessons, I retaught myself to read music again, and working on scales and talking about keys and really talking about music theory again. And I felt like it was I just had this moment where I was sitting there practicing with her in sight reading and being able to play the scales and sight reading a song, going, hey, I can do this. Why? The moment of clarity. You ready for it? Here's the line. If I can figure out how to play piano, why can't I figure out how to play guitar? So I have bought the guitar, and I've been taking lessons. Are you ready? So I'm not going to play it, but here's the guitar. I've been working on it. Maybe one of these videos will include a song. We'll see. I'll work on it. So the moment of truth, the bottom line of this is that in the course of doing something else, it dawned on me that I could try this thing, and that I didn't need to think about it anymore. I just needed to do it. And so what I want people to remember about this is that sometimes when we really want to do something, we can talk ourselves out of it because it's too hard or we don't have enough time, and maybe sometimes we don't for a long time. But if a moment comes where you're like, I really want to do this thing, and it's something you've been trying to do for a super long time, just try it. I'm really enjoying learning the guitar again, and falling in love with it again, and I'm super excited to keep going. So I know this video was a bit longer. That was a longer story, but I hope this gives you an idea of something that you can write about for your own moment of truth or clarity. And with that, I hope you have an incredible day. Don't forget to grab the journal, subscribe if you're hanging out on YouTube, and I will see you on the next video. In the meantime, happy writing.